Hello everybody, this is Mr. McAllen again, and I just wanted to do one last video for chain rule, which dealt with table values. And as you can see here, I picked out a sample from a textbook that I use is Finney, Demana, Waits, and Kennedy. I want to make sure I give them credit. And I'm only going to be doing questions E, F, G, and H as time permits. I'm trying to do this within 10 minutes, so here we go, or even sooner. So we're going to work only on these because these are the only ones that have elements of the chain rule. So if we look at problem E, and you have f of g of x, and you want to take its derivative, then you've got to take the derivative of the outermost first, evaluate at the inner, times the derivative of the innermost. You plug in, because they want us to do this at x equals 2, f prime at g of 2 times g prime at 2. We'll plug in the values. F prime at g of 2 would be g of 2 is 2 times g prime at 2 is negative 3. And finally, f prime at 2, we'll plug that value in, will be 1/3. So we'll have 1/3 times negative 3, and our final answer will be equal to negative 1. For part F, we have the square root of f of x. So if we're going to do this, we'll have f of x to the 1/2 power, because that's what a square root is. And y prime will be 1/2. The outermost function's derivative is 1/2. Bring that down. You have f of x to the negative 1/2. And then you multiply that by the derivative of f prime at x. It's very important. That's the chain rule right there. A lot of people will forget that part, and they'll get this problem wrong. So why do we have to do that? Because that's the innermost function. So remember, it's the outer function 1/2. Derivative of that is 1/2 of the inner to the negative 1/2 times the derivative of the inner. We're going to apply 1/2 f at 2, the negative 1/2. That'll be a square root in the bottom, times f prime at 2. So let's just plug in our values. So f of 2, let me look at the table. F of 2 is 8. So 8 to the negative 1/2 power times f prime at 2, which is 1/3. When we combine all this, we have 1/6, and then the radical 8 is in the bottom. Now if you want to simplify that, be my guest, but I think that's good enough for demonstrating the chain rule. Now we'll go on and we'll work on part G. Part G is going to be 1/g squared of x. So we can rewrite this as g to the negative second of x and do a power rule / chain rule on this. So the derivative is going to be negative 2 brought down in front. I have g of x here times the negative third raised to the negative third power. Don't forget the chain rule. We did the derivative of the outermost function by doing this, times the derivative of the inner. This is where they generally get you. Okay, so now we need to, well, I need to zoom out so I can see that table those table values. So it says, I need to zoom out even more. So I'll need to get my glasses so I can see everything on this sheet. We're evaluating this at 3, so it's going to be negative 2 times g of 3 to the negative third times g prime at 3. So negative 2, g of 3 is negative 4 cubed times g prime at 3, which is 5. So my answer is going to be negative 2, negative 4 cubed is going to be 1/64 negative times 5. So your final answer will be 10 positive over 64. Alright, I'm going to clean this up for the last part because it shouldn't take long, but I just don't want to have to scroll all the way down and miniaturize everything again. So just shrink that down, move that over there, zoom in, and let's start the last part. Let's change the ink to a red. And now we have the square root of f squared of x plus g squared of x. They always save the best for last for us. At x equals 2. Well, this is again f squared of x plus g squared of x to the 1/2 power. And we know what we have to do with a 1/2 power when we take the derivative. That's going to be 1/2 down in front, f squared of x plus g squared of x. So negative 1/2 times the derivative of the inner. Again, remember the onion rule, right? The derivative of the inner is going to be, well, derivative of f squared of x is going to be 2f of x to the first power, but this is where people make their big mistake. They forget to do the derivative of the inner function, which is f prime of x, plus I could do the derivative of g squared of x, and it follows the same format. 2g of x to the first power times g prime of x. And again, those derivatives right there are where people generally make their big mistakes. So let's plug in the values for x equals 2. F squared at 2 is going to be 64. G squared at 2, or g of 2 squared, will be 4. That's raised to negative 1/2 power. 2 times f at 2, so f at 2 is 8, times f prime at 2, which is 1/3, plus 2 times g of 2 is g of 2 is 2 times g prime at 2 is negative 3. So we have to do a little bit of computation here. So this is going to be 1 over 2. In the bottom I have the square root of 68. This part here I have 16 over 3 plus, minus 12. This will be 36 over 3 minus 16 over 3. I'm sorry, plus 16 over 3. That will make 20 over 3 negative times 1 over 2 root 68. Now this is just like simplifying, and that negative 20 and that 2 make 10. So I have negative 10 over 3 root 68, and I'm sure I can get a 4 out of the 68. So it'll be negative 10 over 4 divides out of 68, that makes 17. So it'll have 3 times 2 root 17. Final answer will be negative 5 over 3 root 17. Now this, of course, is simplifying. It's not nearly as important for the process as not forgetting these terms, those prime terms, in taking the derivative. I hope this was of help to you, and please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please post comments in the comment section on YouTube.